What up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome to Liberia to the world. I'm going to go into a new episodes here, and also sorry again for the phone. It's just easier recording audio on our phones to sync it with the camera as compared to other devices. And sorry about that noise. But let's jump right into it. Today's video. We're going to talk about how to acquire these homes from Vision Estate. I want to dive into a few things. I want to talk about the idea behind Vision Estates, the team behind Vision Estates, the method by which you can purchase these properties in the estates, just a lot more deeper dive into the estates and the thinking and our value proposition for Vision Estates. Now, just a backstory, you guys all know Vision Estate started, well, you don't know, but Vision Estate started, I would say, almost 5 years ago. Joel and I visited Liberia for the first time.
Crazy, man. We out here. Just landed after 15 years. Epic.
And right away noticing the lack of just modern looking houses in Liberia. Also, we've been to other African countries before, and we've seen how progressive they are as far as the housing market and what they are doing. Henceforth, when we arrived in Liberia, it was a little daunting in not a good way, right? So we hop on a journey right away to see how we can contribute to the progression of Liberia in the housing sector. That's one part. The other part is myself and Joel, family members who are close to us, right, have been duped out of their money for trying to build in Liberia. A lot of the constructions and building that's going on in Liberia are from diaspora Liberians, people outside of Liberia. So it's really hard to have an ongoing project in Liberia without whilst being there, right? Most of us have to come back to wherever your home country is, being that Canada, US, Europe, Asia, to work, to further your education, to work, to take care of your family and things like that whilst building in Liberia. So it's been a really difficult time. We noticed right away since we hopped on the journey, right? Right away when we started the channel and started talking about housing and building in Liberia, the most email I have up to date are emails from you guys, individuals or people you know, complaining about trying to build in Liberia, right? People are being duped. Family members are taking their money. I mean, everything, right? Things are not being done right. Just the level of professionalism, the quality of the work, and all of those has been lacking in that sector. And you guys are complaining and complaining, leading a lot of you and us, myself, to go back every time to further your project, leaving your work, your family, going to Liberia to spend money to make sure things go the right way. So that's kind of like I would say, the epiphany, like that moment where we realize, okay, there's something has to be done, and we have to contribute physically towards this national crisis, really. That's how we started on the journey. We started some due diligence, some market research, just kind of, making connections, putting the team together, especially. So now, let me answer the question, the title of this video right away before I come back and go deep diving into Vision Estate, the model, again, the value proposition, our competitive advantage, and all of those stuff. Let's jump right into exactly what the title of this video says. All right, so the initial process, let's say, for example, you select the $30,000 home. There are several stages in which we do the payment process. This gives you the option, of course, then to pay over time. Now, let me start by saying or explaining a little bit more what we meant by buying off plan. This is something that's fairly new in the Liberian, not in the Liberian market, but it's currently existing. However, I feel like a lot of people don't know that term. This is something that is rampant in other African countries, our neighboring countries. That's how diaspora Liberians has been purchasing homes over the years. And it's a good thing, right? Because it gives you that ability to not take the load of saving of a bunch of cash and putting it down to build your home. As we all know, man, it's not easy in diaspora. We have families here. We're trying to start a project. It's a slow, long process, and it takes time. So that's why we are mainly going this route. I'll say solely going this route in order to give you guys the opportunity to kind of spread your payment, to be involved in the building process, to give you that sense of security throughout the way, right? So let me jump right into it. So building off plan basically means we have the structure, we have the land, we have the construction plan, we have the team, we have all of that, right? However, we have a few design options that you can pick from. As you pick and make your initial payment, we start the construction process. We start every stage we get to, you make a payment. Every stage we get to, you make a payment. Now, if you download the buyer's guide, you will see the different stages, about 7 stages, right? Initial will be acquiring the land, the deed processing and things like that, clearing up the land, all of that. It's in the initial process. The second, including digging the foundation, right, and casting the foundation, that's the first stage. Now, the second stage will be, again, that's the walls, right? Putting up the walls up to window level, making sure, the home layout is there and all of that stuff. The plumbing, electricals, all of those things are done, right? Those are different stages. And then we go to roofing, and then we go to finishing. So these are all different stages, but the construction process go, in which then you have, that happens over several months, in which then you have that interval to make those payments. Now, this is mainly what I'll recommend. I've said this before prior to even announcing Vision Estate. That's the route I recommend, especially those of you in the diaspora, even those who are in Liberia, to go in purchasing homes, right? I've said this before. There's not a lot of homes, if any, on the market just for sale. Even if they are, right, you've seen some of those on social media and some platforms. There are these rundown, beat up houses that people are just trying to get rid of, right? You can't really find a newly built, beautiful, modern looking home for sale. Right. And so that's why this method is the best way. And it makes sense to you guys, right? Because we have a lot of emails from you guys who are building in Liberia separately, but are also looking to acquire one of these homes, which I would dive deeper into later on as we talk more about who should purchase this home and the different target market for this home if you fall in one of those segments. So that's what buying off plan means. Now, let's go back to what I mentioned about the different method, right? So let's say, for example, you take the $30,000 home, you make a $5,000 deposit. What that does, it kickstart the project, right? We start, like what I mentioned earlier, the stage 1, building your foundation, your land, your processing, administration, all of that stuff. When we get to that stage, as we go again, every stage we finish, you pay. Every stage we finish, you pay. That's how these purchases are made. Now, somebody may say, well, you said this and this and this and that, the payments are broken down by how much? Well, the initial payment is 30%, right? You do your 30% deposit, and you can break it down from there to 20% after every 5 months. Again, here's what some of our customers are doing, right? Is they start with 30%, or you can do the lowest, you do is 25%. There's a 25% option, initial deposit. There's a 40% initial deposit and 50% initial deposit. It all depends on your timeline, how long you're looking to take to complete a project, how much money you have on hand, how comfortable you are with making these payments throughout the way, right? Now, some people may say, let's start with a 25% deposit. Let me get that little bit of money down just to secure a spot, to secure a unit. But then they have means and method, right? We all know, right? Sometimes at your job, you can put in overtime, or you can talk to your spouse, you'll come up with a plan. And especially, we all know tax season comes around. Some of us in America and Europe and other places get a lot of money during that time frame. Sometimes we're looking for means and method to spend it. Most of us spend on vacation, things like that, which is so good. But now this is also another viable avenue, or I said vehicle, in which to put your money right? Which will increase in value over time, get you something tangible, a property in Liberia and things like that. Those are what our current customers are doing, right? Making that initial deposit to get your feet wet, to secure your unit, but also splitting those payments down into smaller parts until they get to where either they're putting some overtime or a tax season, or some of you got high paying jobs. Over time, you can accumulate that money to go ahead and make that payment. So that's how the payment process works. It gives you that flexibility. It gives you the option to pay an installment and things like that. And that applies to the other price home, right? The other segments of homes, like the 3-bedroom, 3.5 bath, the 4 bedrooms and things like that. Now, we are in talks with banks in Liberia to look at financing options. But you and I know, even in other developed African countries, that's something that's a little bit harder, right? The due diligence that's needed, the amount of processing procedures that's in place in order to secure you that loan, it's a little bit it's a lot, right? So now, as time goes on, we will let you know. But being that the houses are not that expensive, you probably wouldn't really need that option, right? And paying loans to banks and interest and things like that. You can just buy it off plan over time. You complete it, right? Some of our properties are from 14% to 24, not 14%, but 14 months to 24 months, in which we're, splitting up this payment and doing the building process. By the end of that time frame, you get your keys, you get handed your finder, ownership document and things like that. So that's the process we have in place right now. Let's pivot a little bit. Let's talk about the idea, our value proposition. Now, if you're into business or if you're into marketing or, you've heard that term, you know what value proposition means. If you don't know, a value proposition basically just means what is our intention, our motive? Why are we doing this? What is in it for you guys? And what are we trying to convey, right? The purpose I've already mentioned earlier, right, is contributing to the housing market in Liberia, number one. Number two is to give you guys an ease of access into the housing market. We have a platform here where we give you guys advice. We talk to you guys about things to do, what not to do. But we realize, how can we physically aid you guys into the housing market or into acquiring property, building wealth in Liberia and Africa as a whole? This is how we want to do that. So that's our value proposition. That's our cause. That's why we're doing this. That's why we're making those trips back and forth to Liberia. We're going in and out. We're doing due diligence. We're in the sun. You guys have seen the behind the scenes. You've seen the short clips, the reels and things like that. So that's why the whole thing started. Now, I'm anticipating some questions that you guys may have, right? I'm already seeing the comment section. Okay, so what kind of experience you guys have? Here's what we did, right? We came together, Joel and myself came together and said, look, let's find the best team. Let's find experts in these areas. We already have the business accolades. We have business here in the United States. We've been running for years. That make a good return, right? We've ran the business. We've expanded the business. Joel on his own and even myself on my own before we combined our business. Have been running our business for years, right? And even in our regular jobs, the experience from there, he has some housing background. Myself, as far as lending, mortgages, and things like that, I'm into that space, right? With that knowledge and finding the right teams of experts, we put together a whole team that can make this happen. So it's not necessarily us doing the building or us being past architect or builders. It's just merely the vision and the idea and the ability to put a team together that can make that goal happen. That's how we combine this, right? So for those who may have questions about experience, that's kind of how it is. We are people who are passionate about this space, but we surround ourselves with people who actually have the technical know-how and the ability to make this happen, and proven skills, right? And we did our due diligence in order to put this together. Now that we've already gone through that and talked about background and credibility and things like that, let's go into why purchase off-plan, or a home in an estate as compared to what you're doing. Now, I will say this. A lot of you guys who are interested in these homes are first-time homeowners. If you're in the diaspora, you've owned home before, sometimes your first home is not so much your dream home, right? Your first home is something you want to get into. Your family is expanding. you want to get into a bigger space and things like that. And you're a little bit earlier on in your career or your family life and things like that. And later on, you can gather funds, you can plan, you can put resources toward your dream home, right? The home where you're going to live in until you're old. Most of our first homes are not that. Now, the few questions I'm getting from you guys is, hey, you know what? I want to own a home, but I want it this way and this way. I want the yard to be 6 football field long and this and all of that, right? I believe that will come later on when you're living in Liberia. These are your first home. For some of you, you're not looking to move to Liberia, you're looking for a second home. So that's why buying in an estate is better, right? Because one, you're not running into too much issue right off the bat. Owning homes comes with its own headache, right? But we alleviate, right? We limit your liability to all these headaches as far as you being an estate, caretaker, security, your neighborhood, your vicinity is nice, it's clean. All of those things are some things you have to face by yourself if you're building on your own, being a first-time homeowner in Liberia, in Africa as a whole. But we alleviate that, right? We take away those pain, right? Those headache from that. That's why your first home, if you're buying in Africa, should be through this method. It doesn't have to be us. Look, we are on this platform to give you guys information. If you can find somebody else doing what we're doing, selling homes in an estate and have all these things, there are a few people out there. Go ahead and do so. But that's my recommendation. If you come to us, great. If not, find somebody who is credible, who has a legitimate business going on, and go ahead and do that, right? That's the whole idea. But by building in Liberia by yourself, we've covered that on this channel so many times as far as living, communal living. Jordan and I made a video, communal living, which is living in a community as compared to individual living, right? A lot of you guys, you've seen and you can attest to it. You're building your home in a nice area somewhere far away. Beautiful home, right? Now, the roads getting there is completely, it's not good, right? Your neighbors, people who are around you, maybe there's a club down the road or a Kobo shop, right? Down the road, there's a garbage, there's this, the vicinity, you do not have control over that. But that's not what happens in that estate, in a community, right? All of those things are not there. So we take away those pains for you. And again, if you're trying to own home in Africa, let's talk about you guys' profile. Just means your background, what you're made of, your current life, right? Your profile. Most of you guys, us, including me, if I was looking for a home outside of Vision Estate, we are working adults, working mom, working dads. You have family. You have your bills here. In let's say, example, America. You have your bills in America. You have so many things you're doing. What you do not want is to add more to your plate just by owning home in Liberia, right? By adding all of these things that you have to be an expert on, you have to know. And you have to run behind people. You have to actually know people who can do this or that, or be referred by somebody, right? And those referrals, you don't know the credibility of those. There's no due diligence done by you or somebody else. You're trusting their word. And we can all attest to what has happened in the past by just following somebody. Say, oh, this person recommended it to me on Facebook, or this and this and that, right? So all of those things have been alleviated. That's why buying home in an estate is a viable and should primarily be your main way of owning home in Liberia, especially for the first time. Let me tell you this story, right? Yesterday, I got a call from a mother who's like, hey, look, I've been trying to build in Liberia. I have a mother of 3. I have to work. I work 2 jobs. I'm gone most of the time. I really want to own home in Liberia. I want to start setting my kids up for the future. I want to retire. America is great. It's amazing. But my end goal is to retire back home. My end goal is to have my kids have a legacy. My end goal is to have my kids visit home. What I don't have is the time and energy to chase people all around, right? She started the journey. She started, it's at window level, but she's like, I'm done. I've abandoned that. So I want an estate in Vision Estate because of the direction you guys are going, because it's hands off for me. I gave you guys, I pay as we go. I do not have to do anything. There's no liability on my part, especially after we start the process and sign the contract and all of that. It's hands off, right? If we're building your thing and one wall fell down because it wasn't done right, it's not you. You don't have anything to do with that. It's our company. We handle that. We take all of that from your hands. That is why this is crucial now that you take this step to purchase this home this way. Now, you can definitely go and build on your own. We've talked about this on the channel so many times. Let me throw in another term that you've heard of from me or somewhere else, or maybe you've never heard about it. It's called opportunity cost. What is opportunity cost? Opportunity cost is basically, in simple man terms, is what you gave up here in order to achieve something here. Now, when you're building in Liberia, you're like, oh, you know what? I can build a house for cheap. I know my uncle can do this and this and that. The house is going to cost me $40,000. But then you're building yourself, right? And you want to be hands-on. You want to make sure things go well. You want to make sure nobody dupe you. You want to see it yourself. You want to touch it and feel it. Cool. Well, what would that entail? That will entail you going to Liberia a few times a year, right? That will entail you. Now, what is the opportunity cost in that? The opportunity cost is you're going to leave your job, put in your 2 weeks notice. Well, that's time you could have used for something else, for your sick kid, you yourself being sick and things like that. Some of you guys have side hustle. Well, you're going to have to leave that side hustle. You're not making money from that, right? That's opportunity cost. You have to buy a plane ticket. You have to rent a place if you want to live comfortably, if your family don't own a home. You have to buy food, transportation. All of those are the cost of you building in Liberia. Now, a lot of people forget about that. They think about just the $40,000, the $30,000, whatever it is that they pay to build a home, forgetting the money you lost at your job for being gone, your side hustle money you couldn't get, your PTO you've used that you could have used for your family time. And it's not always money. Opportunity cost group simply means family time. You could have spent that time with your kids. You could have gone to a park. You could have gone on a mini vacation and spent that time, valuable time that you cannot get back. Those are opportunity costs. You have to add all of those to your amount, the physical cash you spend to build your home. It's almost always going to come up more as compared to, for instance, buying off plan. You don't have to do any of those, right? So I just kind of wanted to make this video to kind of go a little bit deep diving into our value proposition, the model, the business plan, and all of those. Now, there will be several videos coming out with Vision Estate, how to purchase, like all the services that we offer, right? We'll be making a lot of videos. Joel will be making video, myself will be making video, and we'll be bringing this through every time. You can always reach us though by email, visiting our website, go into the contact us. Some of the information will reach back out to you. You guys again saw that we posted some jobs out there. These are the teams we're putting together in order to make this a success, right? This is something we're coming to this at a different angle. What does that mean? This means your complaints we've been hearing from you guys with other people you've interacted with in order to own a home in Liberia. We've heard those prior to even launching this, right? We've gathered this information and we've said, look, these are the people's pain point, right? Let's say, for example, those of you in the diaspora, you're like, you're used to a certain way you do business, right? You hit up a company, the website is great, the communication is great, the person you talk to, is informative, the person you talk to is knowledgeable, they speaks clearly and things like that, right? You expect certain level of customer service. That's what's also lacking in other people you've interacted with. That's how our angle of approach is different. That's how we're coming to the market, right? So that's something new we're bringing to give you that peace of mind, to give you that ease of access, to give you a user-friendly interface to interact with us and all of those stuff. So that's something you can expect, and that's something you are going to get from Vision Estate. So long we're involved, we're going to make sure that happens, right? So those are the steps. That's how you can purchase one of the homes. Those are the breakdown of the payment. Again, just go to visionestatesliberia.com, download the buyer's guide, because it kind of breaks it down into chunks, chewable chunks where you can kind of digest it and be able to understand it quicker and easier, right? You can always call us for sure, and we have somebody to talk to you about it. But there it is, guys. Don't forget to share the video. If you have further questions, put it in the comment section down. I'm always in the comment section answering questions, or reach out to us. The email is in the bottom of the screen. Phone number is also there, Liberia and United States phone number, and we can get that started for you. But there it is, guys. More video coming. See you in the next one.